When your borderline or narcissistic partner discarded you, you were left in shame. You had feelings like you didn't deserve to exist, I don't deserve to be here, or I'm not good enough to be here, or I'm such a fuck up. That's shame. Shame, as I've said before, triggers one of our 4 protectors, our warrior protector, which is fighting or running away, eliminating whatever the threat is by getting the fuck out of there or killing it. And then there's the peaceful protector that has decided that it's going to cohabitate with whatever the threat is. It's kind of eliminating itself as a threat. One is to appease the threat. Hey, what can I do for you? You're invading my town. Hey, I'm a doctor. I can help you. I know where the treasure is. This kind of thing. Or, hey, babe, look, I don't have to have hobbies that bother you. I can get rid of them for you. Freezing or camouflaging. That's when, like, you know, when you're in class, when you're younger and you're all in trouble and you just try to like hide and camouflage so the teacher points out someone who isn't you. That's freezing. Freezing is playing dead. Freezing is also in an abusive relationship when you're holding your emotions in and you feel numb as hell. It's almost like you're starting to dissociate. That would be like freezing. You're not leaving. You're not eliminating the threat, but you're making it so that it kind of doesn't affect you, even though it does. We need to look at the bigger picture of identity and who you are. Because essentially what's happened is all these parts of your identity, especially the positive parts of your identity, have all been minimized, diminished, or eradicated. And all you have left are these negative parts of your identity that your partner keeps shaming you for. And then when they leave you, you're totally alone and disconnected. If we think of us having this sort of core self, or core something here. That core something is connected. All of these parts of us, okay? Good parts and bad parts. What we tend to do when we first meet people is we all put on a bit of a facade. We play as the really positive parts of our identity. Now, as people get to know us, we actually let them in to see more of the full who we are. One of the best things about having friends is you can say, God, I felt so stupid. You know, I made this huge mistake at work and so dumb of me and blah, blah, blah. And someone like your friend might be able to empathize with you, help you to feel a little bit better, let you know, see the big picture. Hey, that thing that you fucked up is this small thing and you're actually all of these other things. So don't, yeah, we should solve it, but like, that's not you, hey, you're all right. So we have these positive and negative sides of our identity. When we first are in this codependent enmeshed relationship, which is how all of the abusive relationships start. They start with this codependent relationship where you're being idealized and your partner, maybe we call it mirroring you, but they're trying to be what you want. They're showing you how much they love you by being perfect for you. So they're being really codependent and you're emotionally enmeshing, which means that the sense of boundaries aren't really there. Everybody's being really vulnerable. So they're praising you, overly praising you. And by the way, they're already objectifying you and they're praising you for how great you are. I remember my last piece of relationship, she told me what a great writer I was. She knew I really wanted to pursue more of my writing. She never read my writing. She read maybe like a little bit, but she was just idealizing me. She was the wrong person to ask. Now, later in the relationship, as the abuse is happening, of course, I was an okay writer. I wasn't really great. And what I was doing was kind of shitty. So we have all these positive things and they're really boosting those positive things. And then all the negative things about us are actually also positive things too. If you look at the video I have on identity, I do this meditation where we go through when you felt good about yourself and bad about yourself and how that totally changes your conception of who you are. So I have this negative identity that my partner is soothing and loving and being so great about. One thing that we do find in love, like when somebody truly loves you, not love bombs you, when somebody truly loves you, they'll see that thing in you that you maybe see just a little bit of, or that you have a lot of self-doubt around, and they'll love it and nurture it, and they'll treat it with care and kindness. That's love. I'm assuming if you're the caretaker and you're the codependent, you gave that a lot of the time to your BPD current partner or ex, where you saw something in them and you said, hey, I'll hold this. I'll be so gentle with this. And, I believe in you. You can do this. And in the beginning, they loved you for that, actually. They really, really appreciated it. And then later, she gets fucked up. We'll talk about that too. So they're giving you all of this boost. So for me, hey, yeah, you could be a great writer and, you could do all this stuff. Oh my God, yeah, I can. Her by my side is going to be amazing because we're in love, and while those feelings are high, everything and anything is possible. We haven't yet hit reality, but reality is on its way. Even before we start to hit reality, we get these little murmurings that there's certain things we have to not be doing anymore, that we need to be putting more and more of our focus on them and their emotions that are labile and changing and we're just getting little previews of it, little sneak views of that. And some of those include things you're good at. So they might start to not like some of the things that are actually really strong in your identity, things that are really positive that actually you see as really positive too. So that could be the good friendships you have. And they might start to triangulate you against your current friends or people who are like good to you and say, oh yeah, that person, they said this thing about you. Over time, those positive things, they're getting diminished. They're getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And maybe I'm even voluntarily stopping doing certain things, at least when I'm around them. So this is an example, although it's not my example. It's an example of someone else's relationship. I had two friends who dated, and they're both artists. And one was more confident as an artist and one was less confident, and this was the manipulator and this was the caretaker. This person stopped doing a certain style of art that they used to do, they were quite good at, because this person's self-esteem was so low when it came to doing the same kind of art. This person was like, well, there's like 3 other art styles I do, I'm going to stop doing that one to like invite them in. So they completely, for years, stopped painting in that way. And that was just to help, to say, oh, I see you, I see this really soft part of you, and I don't want to make you feel worse. And at first, we might make concessions there. Things like, I won't use this language or this word. I won't swear around you. I won't yell. I won't raise my voice. It might be some things like that, small, but then those things can grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger concessions, because now I've made this concession, but they still have a fucking problem. I'll stop doing this art style. Oh, well, maybe I need to stop doing this one too. Oh, well, they complained about that I'm too good, and so I'll just stop doing stuff around them. Oh, I'll start doing things over there. Oh, now they're complaining that I'm not spending enough time with them, but I can't do art when I'm around them, so I'll just do my art less. So the first shaming might happen around them, like, well, when you do art, I feel bad. It like kills me. Every time you do art, it's like you taking a knife and stabbing it in my heart, and you go, oh my God, I feel so bad. I feel like a murderer. I feel ashamed. I would never want to be a murderer. Oh, if I were a murderer, I wouldn't deserve to have friends or be connected to the world. You start to feel shame for being kind of an abuser, for hurting your partner who's so sensitive. So you're making these concessions, but the concessions never end. They get wider and wider and wider. So what started as something like, well, I won't do my art around them, it gets wider and wider and wider until now I'm not even doing my art on my own time. Now I'm not even engaging in those things that I really love, and they're having more and more control over me. So that means that I have to consider their emotions before I go and do my own passion that actually has nothing to do with them. Well, that sucks. This could be your job. Tons of people I know in BPD and narcissistic relationships work their asses off, work like crazy, and their wives or spouses, hey, you work too much, so they stop working as much. Hey, you don't make enough money. Well, I have to work more to make money. It doesn't really matter, and it's one of the things we don't understand is that in abuse, there's always going to be something. The reason there's always going to be something is that inside that cluster B person is an incredibly high level of core shame and of worthlessness and things like that, and they can't really look at the feeling inside of them for too long. It's really uncomfortable and difficult, just like it is for us, just like it would be for anybody. So instead of looking at the difficulty in them, they need to look at the problem in somebody else. Let me solve this thing outside of myself, and then I'll feel better. In a way, we all do that. Oh, you feel bad about yourself? Go buy some new clothes. Go accomplish something. Go make some money. Go work out. Go drink. We're always looking for things outside of ourselves to soothe us inside. But someone who's cluster B, the inside is just always in turmoil and always fucked up. And you know that. You've been with them for a long time. Part of what made you actually feel strong, they were continually and perpetually in some state of shame and fear and difficulty. And it gave you a role. It gave you a purpose. And in fact, that's all you have in the end. So all these pieces of your positive identity are gone almost. And the only positive identity piece you have left is how you serve them and how you help them, what you do to maintain their love, and what you do to maintain their feelings of worth towards themselves. So that becomes the only part of your identity that's left, which is the highest level of codependency you can achieve. Level 100, yeah. That's the best you're going to get, is that high level of codependency. But then what happens when they reject you? Well, you didn't make me feel good. You didn't make me feel in love with you. I'm going to go drop you and hang out with my ex. I'm going to go drop you and hang out with this new person. I'm going to go drop you and that's it, it's done. So you have no identity left. Your whole identity actually ended up revolving around them and their world. All the other pieces of you are diminished. All those old good things about you, they're so small, they're not even you anymore. You're disconnected from your friends who remind you about who you are. That's gone. All of your negativity, they have actually amplified how bad you are at everything. And even they've probably made the things you were good at, now those are bad too. Your art sucks. You used to do such great art. I don't get why you don't do art anymore. Crazy shit like that. And it's all just to diminish you and diminish you. And the only thing that's left is how you serve them. But now they've abandoned you, because that was always the threat, right? Is that if they're emotionally dysregulated too much, they're going to leave. And they're not ever going to regulate your emotions. They will sometimes. In the beginning, they did. When they were codependent to you and being perfect for you, they were regulating your emotions. It felt great. They're also objectifying you. They didn't actually see you. When they were boosting you, all the things that you were good at, they over boosted you on those. And all the things you were terrible at, when they said, oh, I still love you and accept you for this, they didn't really. In the moment, they felt like they did. They're either really trying to get you to love them, which was the most manipulative part of it all, or they really believed it and they got caught up in their feelings and their emotions and went, oh my God, finally someone's going to save me from this inner turmoil I feel. And in that way, you're both bound in this sort of similar thing. The end of the relationship comes and you have no identity left. And it's the worst feeling in the world. Shame is disconnection from everything, and love is infinite connection to everything. So think about when you had the highest level of love at the beginning of the relationship and acceptance, you were connected to possibly and potentially all parts of yourself. You were connected to all the positive parts of yourself, and you were connected to all the negative parts of yourself. You were connected to the universe in that the past all made sense and was logical and all led you to meeting your soulmate, and the future was full of tremendous and wonderful possibilities. So in this way, you were infinite, you were connected to infinite, and it was such an amazing feeling to have. And what a gift to get that. Not really because of the abuse happening after, but you can conjure these feelings in yourself as well without a relationship like this and without it being this narcissistic fantasy, because part of what got you in the beginning was a level of narcissism. We won't worry about that now. That's not this video. That was your identity, and now all the pieces are gone and you're trying to rebuild, but it's very, very difficult and you have almost nothing left, and the only things that would make you feel good is just this one person. Nothing else seems to work. They somehow have a ball and chain around you, all of your strengths and all of your weaknesses. They seem to be able to be the conductor and control, and they're the ones who can turn on the light of any of those stars. They can turn on the light and make all the bad things inside of you good, and make all the bad things that are actually good inside of you good again. So they can turn it on, like they have power over the stars themselves. Wow, 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 wow. So what are you going to do? You're going to say, well, that was the devil. I fell for the fucking devil's plan. And if I just remember they're a devil, I can pick up the pieces and over time I can heal, but you can't. This rebuilding of your identity, that is probably one of the most important things you do, has to be a conscious effort. And as I said at the end of the other identity video, we have a couple of paths that we can take afterwards. One path is that we fail to rebuild our identity consciously. And it just means that we get into more addictive behavior. So you're either hung up on your ex for years and years, even if you're in a new relationship, you're still hung up on them, you're still like addicted to them, you're still bonded, you're still trauma bonded to them. And it's going to inform a lot of the decisions you make. Or you find a new abuser. I did that quite a bit. Or you find drugs and alcohol. I also did that. So you find other ways to kind of regulate those terrible emotions you have, because you're sitting at the bottom. You're disconnected from almost everything. And something that feels like connection is alcohol and drugs can feel really, really good, like a really nice sense of connection. And if you do them with other people, you will have, that's hilarious, you will have a sense of connection. Of course, that kind of shit doesn't last long. It leaves, and then you're fighting again and you stay in that addiction. If you consciously change, you have two ways to do it. One is to do it in a way that's authentic, that's difficult emotionally, although I would say all of these are emotionally difficult, but it's difficult emotionally because it requires a lot of truth and sobriety about yourself. It's a long game. It's the fucking best one. And that's going to be a combination of something like 12 steps in therapy, meditation, no contact, the 4 things. There's another way to rebuild yourself, which is totally fucked up. And I did that. For guys, for a lot of us, we're like, well, look what happened when I centered my life around her. When I centered my life around her, everything got fucked up. When she centered her life around me, like in the beginning during the love bomb, everything was fine. If I could have managed her so that she could keep her center around me, I will be okay. So I'm going to start to take on these new protector parts. I'm going to essentially become a narcissist. I'm going to keep them at bay. I'm never going to get too close. I'll never center my world around them. I'll never be that open or that vulnerable, because in the beginning, when they saw all my strengths and praised me, and they saw all my weaknesses and said it's cool, they used all those weaknesses against me. caused me to later also diminish my strengths until my whole world revolved around them and I was left with nothing. So a seemingly obvious but ineffective way to heal from this is to kind of reverse all of that. So to say, you know what, my strengths are the only thing I'm going to show them. I'm going to show almost no vulnerability, maybe like a little grain of rice here and there of vulnerability to keep them going. I'm going to keep my attraction high. That way they'll never stop idealizing me. And if anything, I'll become so masculine that I will attract a codependent woman and I'll be the narcissist and she'll be the codependent and we'll live happily ever after and I will be in charge of everything. Being more like the narcissist and being invulnerable, you're simply creating a new protector self, more similar to the warrior protector instead of the codependent protector. And you're looking for a match. You're going to be the warrior and they'll be the codependent as opposed to the other way around. You're going to be in the one-up position this time. What I found is when I would get into those relationships where I was starting to do that, those relationships kind of bored me. I didn't really like having a partner who was just up for whatever the fuck I wanted to do all the time. I didn't really like that, where I had to make all the decisions all the time. I was like, I don't even know who you are. Like, what do you like? What do you want? I would drop that and then get with a cluster B. And the cluster B, I would get to have that chase where I never totally get the intimacy. And so that chase stops me from actually having depth with that person. So I don't have to have a very deep relationship, but the cuts are deep. So we walk away hurt and fucked up and everything. So your identity is crumbled and next to nothing. You can take narcissistic supply if you'd like. You can drink, you can go after more cluster Bs, or you can do something like become a compensatory narcissist and be the warrior protector and find a codependent. Those are unhealthy ways to work your way through this because truly you're too afraid to feel the shame. Think about it. When you are going after that addiction, it's an immediate gratification from that place of shame where you feel disconnected from everything. Drink, feel connected. Get into another relationship, feel connected. The warrior protector, going into this sort of thing. This is also a way to avoid feeling the truth of the shame and the humiliation and lack of identity that you have. So I'll rebuild everything in this kind of facade where I'm always going to be protected and then it's going to be better. But it's still avoiding shame. In that relationship where you started to get rid of all these parts of your identity, you did that because you felt shame, like you were hurting and abusing your partner for having interests and friends and a life outside of them. So you slowly got rid of them. Then you continued to feel shame for the bad things and the good things that you were until your whole identity was just around them, based around them and what you can do to regulate their emotions. And when they dropped you, you didn't even have that. So you were like identityless. One of the worst feelings ever. You were completely disconnected. Instead of love and infinite and abundance, you were nothing. And so you were in a state of desperation. And in a state of desperation are 4 F's: fight, flee, freeze, fawn. Those are the easiest options to kind of pick up. And drugs and alcohol, also an easy one. So you can become very codependent, freezing and fawning, or pick up a warrior protection and find out how to be a stronger man or a stronger woman. It's a sad existence though. I've lived it. It sucks. It's really shitty. So all of these things have diminished and now you need to rebuild. Here to say, you can do it. It took me some time. It took me 1 to 2 months to break the trauma bond completely from my ex, which is fucking amazing. But I still had pieces of my identity and I still had things that I was doing that were self-destructive and negative that I would say from like the day I walked in the door, 12 steps, the day I've got, a sponsor, until I started to feel like a new kind of momentum and stuff like that. It took me a little over a year. It's been 2 years now. So I would say that for the last 9 months or so have been amazing, amazing progress. But the foundation of it was built on this 12-step thing. I picked up other tools along the way, other resources along the way, and I'm happy to share them with you on this channel. So peace, everybody. More videos to come.